Marriage is the easiest thing on the planet. Said no one ever. Ever. Ever.
This is the talk I wish someone would have given me 42 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
I don't know who I'm talking to, but I'm talking like a gangster because I'm telling the enemy he's not going to have your marriage. Somebody needs to hear me in this place. He's not going to have your marriage.
Say it, baby. Say it.
When you say I do on your wedding day, you're promising in advance, in sickness and in health, for better or for worse, you'll never face a struggle without me.
Hello and welcome to another XO Live workshop, live from the marriage capital of the world, Southlake, Texas. I'm Marcus Bowen with XO Marriage, and we're so glad to have you joining us today. We have a great workshop for you, and we're going to be joined today by Bob and Linda Lotich. They're going to be discussing the top 5 marriage money mistakes. So I know it's going to be so helpful for you today. I'm excited to hear what they have to say. Well, let me know where you're joining us from for today's workshop in the chat below. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and click that subscribe button so you can get notified about all of the great marriage building content from XO Marriage. Now, after our teaching today, we will have a Q&A session exclusively on XO Now for our XO Now subscribers. So for those of you watching on Facebook or on YouTube, if you want to be a part of the Q&A and ask Bob and Linda some questions, you're going to need to jump over to xonow.com and start your free 7-day trial right now. Not only will you get this workshop and the exclusive Q&A segment today, but you will get access to our entire library of marriage building content, as well as our newest feature, XO Fitness, which we're going to show you a little bit more about later. It's a great way for couples to work out together, and we're so excited about it. We think it's an awesome addition to the XO Now library. Now, if you have questions today for Bob and Linda during the workshop, feel free to just drop them in the chat as they're talking, as they're going through the teaching, as it comes to mind. Go ahead and drop it in the chat, or you can email them to us at info@xomarriage.com. That's info@xomarriage.com. So if you have something anonymous you want to send in, or if you'd rather it not just show up on the chat for everyone to see, you can email those to us at info@xomarriage.com. All right, well, we've got several of you joining us today. I want to give some shout outs over on XO Now. I see we've got Phil from California joining us. We've got Anna from New Mexico, Tommy from Gainesville, Texas, Robert out in Sacramento, California, and we've got Rob out in Northern California. Now, joining us over on YouTube, I see David from Indiana. Welcome. We're so glad to have you. We got my man Lamont just down the street in Grapevine, Texas, joining us. Good to have you. A lot of you, Missouri, and all the way around the world in London and Ghana, we have people joining us. So welcome. We are so excited to have you joining us today. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about this couple that you're about to hear from, Bob and Linda Lotich. Bob is a financial coach married to Linda, who is a self-proclaimed butterfly-chasing, high-performance spender. That right there is going to be so entertaining to hear what they have to say today, just knowing that about them. Now, their new book, Simple Money, Rich Life, right here, is the operating manual they, a middle-class couple, followed to pay off over $400,000 of debt and reach a personal goal of giving $1 million away by age 40. Now, for the last 14 years, they've shared their best lessons with over 50 million readers and listeners on their award-winning blog, seedtime.com, and the Seed Time Money podcast. Bob and Linda, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
It is our pleasure.
Yes.
We are excited to be here.
Yes.
And so I'm so glad that you said hey to everybody. So where do we go from here, Marcus?
Well, give us a short preview of what we're talking about today and what you have in store for all of our XO Now subscribers and the audience on YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah, so we're talking about the top 5 money marriage mistakes or marriage money mistakes, whatever, because we all know that money and marriage are things where you bump into each other sometimes. We've done that a
Oftentimes.
time or two. And so we're going to go through those, and then, like you said, we're going to do some exclusive Q&A at the end, which we're really excited to do for all the XO Now subscribers. So we can't wait.
Awesome. Well, let's jump right in. Go ahead and take it away.
All right.
All
sounds good.
right.
So, welcome everyone. We are really excited to have each of you here. And we already have many of you, like Marcus was mentioning in the chat, saying hi, where you're from. Please keep doing that. Please keep lighting us up in the chat so we can, because we see it and we pay attention. And we don't want to just talk to a screen. So give us some feedback. Say hey, say, you're enjoying it, or you can throw lemons, whatever you prefer.
And we are bringing you really rich content today. Like, this is some of our best stuff that we have to offer you. But some of it might seem really simple. And I think this is what's so interesting about simple advice, is oftentimes it is the most impactful when you actually implement it. So we know that you are here to see change and that you guys are all in already, but we just want to even give you a further nudge. Like, even if you seem like, man, that doesn't seem like it's going to make a big difference. Like, trust us.
We're not trying to waste your time.
We will not waste your time.
Stuff works, and we'll get into more of that. But
yeah, so let's go all in. We're all in.
Yeah, but we want to start and just pray real quick. So,
Yep.
God, we just invite you into this session, into this conversation, into everything that we're talking about today. And Holy Spirit, I pray that you'd speak through us. And I pray that anyone watching now or in the recording later, that you would give them something, that they would get something from you, they'd walk away from something, and so they can begin to transform their financial life
Yep.
For your purposes and for your glory. In Jesus' name,
Amen.
amen.
All right.
All right, so real quick about us, just giving you a little bit more information. Like Marcus said, my name is Bob. This is Linda. And
Yep.
no, we are not an 80-year-old couple, as you can see. You can see our little heads on there. We get confused.
Yeah,
that
we
sometimes.
do. I mean, I had a doctor walk in the room one time. My name was Linda, and he was like, "Oh, you're younger than I thought you were going to be."
You're not 80 years old. So yeah, I'm a certified educator in personal finance, and just been doing this stuff, helping people with money for a long, long time. And it's an honor, it's a privilege. But I do need to say, for anyone who's sick of financial experts who cannot relate to being broke, we have been well acquainted with being broke. We spent many of our years at the beginning of our marriage in a very, very tight financial season, so we understand both sides of it.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of what we're going to be talking about tonight are things that, you know, we've learned on our journey that have helped us move out of that phase into a better financial position, and that's what we want for you. That is what we are praying to see in your life.
Yeah. And Marcus said it earlier, like I'm kind of the, a little bit more, she's a butterfly person, right? Do we have any of those with us today?
Throw
Please
us
tell
a
me
wave
that
in
you're
the
here.
chat, something.
Because
if you have a spouse,
I don't want to be
who-
alone. But I mean, the thing is like we have worked really hard over the last 17 years in June, right?
Yeah.
Trying to make our marriage work and make his real numbers focused
Numbery spreadsheet.
mind
Yeah.
work with my let's just do whatever, like let's spend it all. We've tried to figure this out so that our marriage works, so that we pull out the best in each other, and that we just
'cause
work
there
well
is
as
a
a
way
team
to
and
do
not
that.
fight all the time.
Yeah, there's a way to do that. And
Yes.
that's what we've been after, and I think we've gotten a lot better.
I
You
think so,
we have?
yeah.
We've grown a lot in that.
Well, hopefully,
So-
because we're here teaching this workshop.
Hopefully,
so
hopefully. So anyway, so this is how we're going to lay out the next hour.
Yep. So we're going to talk about the 5 top mistakes that
Like
a
we said,
lot of
yeah.
people have in their marriage, and how to fix them, right? Like, we're not just going to tell you the mistakes. We want to talk about how to fix them too.
Yeah.
We're going to give you some resources at the end to, show you how you can take this a couple steps further. And we're going to have a giveaway, which is exciting. And then at the Q&A, which is for the XO Now subscribers, we're going to answer as much as we possibly can.
So with all that, let's get into mistake number 1.
Yes.
Okay. So 9 out of 10 husbands agree that their wives are always right. And the 10th one has mysteriously disappeared. No one's ever heard from him.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a huge one, is not chasing after unity in this area with your spouse.
Yeah.
So
And this is not a push button fix. Like, we know this, because I think we all want unity,
Yes.
especially when it comes to money in our marriages. And we know that this isn't, you just push a button, you just do one thing and that's instantly solved. Like,
Right.
these are not simple things, but we are going to go over a few different tips, things that have helped us, things that have helped our readers that we've seen over and over again. And so hopefully they will be helpful to you.
yeah, and what's so fun talking to you guys about it is that you are here because you are fighting for your marriage, right? Like, you're
Exactly.
fighting for the unity in your marriage. So this is another area to just really fight. So first, we have four little things within this, and the first one is, I think if you're coming in with a whole lot of emotions, which a lot of people are, this isn't a conversation that you should just have while you're brushing your teeth in the morning or at night, right before you're going to bed,
And the
right?
kids are running around screaming their heads off.
Oh my gosh, it's just a terrible time, because if you are highly emotional about this, like, anything can trigger you, and then the stress of just day-to-day life just really gets you. So I recommend a lot of times to start by having a conversation about having a conversation.
Yeah.
So in other words, sit down and be like, hey, we really need to talk about our finances, but I don't want to talk about this and fight the whole time. How can we work through this together without having a fight? How can I work through this without you saying, oh, well, I just need to stop spending any money on anything ever? Or, or making like really hard and fast rules that are just not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we're just going to cut the budget in half, and no one's going to spend any money on anything. It's like, that's not a realistic solution. So what do we do to like work through this problem? I think just having that conversation up front seems like a great place to start.
Yep. Well, that leads to the next point.
The next point, which is then when you're going to have this conversation, make it fun. Okay. So think date night, honestly, like get to a point where the kids aren't screaming in the background, but you guys can actually focus on each other and have an enjoyable time talking about this hot button issue, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think that we could have done this. I don't think I could have had these money conversations with you had you not
brought me some ice cream first.
Tried to make it something that is not terrible for you to talk about.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, because it can really trigger stuff and trigger a whole lot of emotions. But if I'm in this place of like, oh, okay, we're gonna enjoy this
have ice cream and a tea.
I mean, it really is amazing how it just tricks your brain into going, okay, I don't have to be so upset so quickly. I can work through this if I,
so
have one milkshake, 2 straws,
So let us know in the chat what would make a fun money conversation for you. Let us know down there what your thoughts are. Like, what would be that like super win awesome conversation, even if you're avoiding these money conversations? It's like, oh, well, if we did this, if we went on a hike, or if we did
if we
while we're at the beach, or
took a little marriage trip, a little retreat vacation type of thing.
Maybe it is just as simple as ice cream. I know for you it's that simple.
It's that simple for me. Really, and buy me a present, then I'm good.
Yeah. So another point here that I think is worth making in terms of going after unity with your spouse and being in unity. This is something I had to learn. I had to learn the hard way, but admitting and acknowledging that the way that you see money might not be the only way, and that it might not be the complete right way. So for me, I'm the guy in the marriage I'm the numbers guy, I'm the spreadsheets guy, I'm the math guy. I see the numbers, and it's like it's math. It's black and white. It's just right or wrong. And so for me, it's like, all right, I set the budget. This makes sense. But then when she runs out and spends more money than we have in the category, it's like, that's just wrong.
Yeah.
You just did it wrong. Like, I'm right, and you just did it wrong. And this is what it was like when we first got married, which, as you know, like, this doesn't help.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I have to credit you. Like you did, I was able to come to you and say, listen, $10 a month is not enough for makeup. Like, I mean, we had a pretty tight budget at the time, but I was like, it's just not going to work. Like, we have to do a little bit more than that because even though in his mind, I shouldn't need to spend any money on makeup. Like, he had it's not because he didn't want me to
just wasn't aware
look pretty. He just had no concept of why would you buy makeup? And he's had this haircut since I've known him. Like, he doesn't spend money on getting his hair done ever. So it's like, that's fine. But because I wasn't the numbers person, like, I still had a lot of value to add to this conversation.
It took me a while to realize that. And God kind of revealed that to me in basically showing me that he put us together for a reason.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
The things that I might think are her weaknesses in terms of the budget are not actually weaknesses. They're strengths that she has, that she brings to the marriage. And and I just had to humble myself and admit that, all right, she has some value to add here, and therefore, how can we work on this together? At the same time, you see my value to add.
Absolutely. But honestly, I had to give myself a little bit of credit too, because for a long time I thought, well, he sees all the numbers and he knows math better than I do, because I'm really bad at math. But so I'm like, I would just trust him to do the thing. And then I was like getting frustrated, and I was like, why is this not working? Well, it's because I wasn't communicating the thing that was going to be helpful to me. So once I realized I actually had value to add of like, hey, we need to put some money in here for date nights, because he was just like, let's just, make the numbers work as best as we can. But that wasn't practical for our lifestyle. So yeah, that was a really big one that helped us a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 4 in here is pray together about your finances. Like, what's so powerful about this one is that if you're not in unity with the way you think about things, you can get in unity in the spirit, right? Like, once you do that and you're like, okay, we're actually pushing forth God's vision for our finances and for our marriage, that really brings you together. And so it really creates this unity and this bond of like, we want to push forward what God wants instead of our own selfish desires. And that really helps.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like glue. It's like gel. Like it's a bonding agent. When you're praying together.
I mean, Bob wrote this down in our little notes here, and I'm like, this is so good. It's like fight in prayer like someone is trying to steal your marriage, because they are. Like there is a real enemy that is trying to bring tension in your marriage and make it so that you're not in full unity, so that you can't move forward in this area. So the prayer is going to be such a huge key element to unity for you guys, but also like fighting against the enemy who is trying to pull that apart, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you need help, because we've talked to some couples, it's like I don't know where to start. Like, how do we start some prayer conversations? And so if you need help with this, we actually put together a PDF. You can get this PDF; it's completely free. Just go to that link or that QR code, and it has a handful of prayer starters, things that we've prayed for years, as well as a whole bunch of scriptures to stand on to pray over your financial life. So. So hopefully you find this helpful. A lot of our readers have really enjoyed it and found it to be a helpful tool. So if you need help, if you need a little bit just a head start on some of this and some of these prayers to be praying, you can run ahead with this.
Yep.
All right. So with all that, we are going to hop over to
mistake number two,
which is not having some no judgment money for each of you. Okay. So
oh man,
people really like to spend money on some really odd things. Like, does anybody have a spouse? Like, throw it in the chat. If you have a spouse,
we want to know.
Like, I can't believe they want to spend money on that.
I mean, okay, so here's a great example. I remember one time I went to go buy a gift for someone, and the only thing he had on his list was a tiny replica of a Stanley Cup. And I was like
tiny little,
and it was like $50. I was like, man, you in your wildest dreams, like this is the only gift you want.
This is the only thing on the wish list.
I was like, if that's what you want, that's fine. But man, that to me, I was like, I would have never thought to even buy that for this person.
Like, okay, so for anybody who knows this meme,
yes, treat yourself, right?
Like, let's explain that because that's really funny.
Okay, so the treat yourself day, right? Like they go out and they're like buying what? Just they're indulging. Like the whole idea is to indulge in whatever you want.
Go get ice cream, go get coffee, go get whatever.
They're getting massages. They're like buying Gucci clothes. Like they're just going for it one day a year. But this other person comes along with them, and they're trying to fit him into the mold of what they like to do. And he's like, I hate this. They were doing acupuncture, and he's sitting there so tense. And they're like, you're supposed to be relaxed. Like, why aren't you relaxed? And they finally say to him, what could you, like, if you want to blow your money, like, what are you going to buy? And he buys, like, a really nice Batman suit, which is, they're like, this is a whole new level of nerd for you, right? Like, but there are people, that's what people like. So the thing is, though, is that in our own marriage, this happens, right?
And so many of us, I mean, and we have this dynamic where you spend money. I'm like, I can't believe you spend money on this.
And I feel the same way about him.
But here's the problem. Like, this is what so many couples do, is they have all their money in one big pot, in one checking account, and this is where everything comes from. So it's like, okay, so we have to buy groceries, and we have to decide between groceries and new shoes and getting oil change for the car and whatever, all the other stuff. And so what happens is she runs out and buys whatever, $200 pair of shoes or something. And I'm like, we were about to buy groceries, you know? And so I'm like, well, you just did that. And so now we can't buy groceries for the week or get the oil changed or whatever. Or I just need to go buy this saw so I could do this home improvement product, you know, but
and I was like, saw? You have 10 saws. Why do you need another saw?
Yeah. Sometimes you do. But the point is that this was causing for us and for so many people, this causes so many marriage fights. And you feel like, well, I have to ask for permission to go buy anything because I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's a recipe for trouble. And so what we started doing, this is what we recommend doing, and we highly recommend doing this, is to create separate spending categories for your spending money, okay? So you basically have two different accounts, however you want to break it out, but you're spending your own money. Each person at the beginning of the month gets designated a certain amount of money. So it's $200 a month for you, $200 a month for me, and we can do whatever we want with it.
Whatever we want.
There's no judgment. She can go buy...
as long as it's in with the confines of what we agree upon in our marriage, right? Well,
But the point is that you can go literally spend it all on
Yes.
Starbucks green tea frappuccinos.
Exactly.
And I don't
And he
care
doesn't care.
because it's your spending money. So
Yes.
we're not going to get in a fight about that anymore.
Because it's my own discretionary money,
But
right?
whereas before, when you had a Starbucks habit and you were spending
Absolutely.
$200 a month,
Yeah.
I'm like, you're eating into our money, you know?
And-
So it's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer.
Yeah, and this is like, again, one of those things where you're like, that doesn't seem like it would make a big difference, but it really does, because all of a sudden it takes you out of this idea of having to ask for permission. Like maybe I know that there are a lot of couples that do that. Like, hey, is it okay if I spend this much on this? Like, where are we at in the month? But if you know how much you have, and you know that this is not, you know, you can make your own choice, basically. And that is just so freeing.
It's
And then you can come
liberating.
home and be like, look what I bought. And he's like, cool, I'm glad you're happy.
Yep.
So yeah,
So
this is a big one.
This is a big deal. Like this single thing, not exaggerating. I'll bet this reduced our money fights by probably 90%.
Yeah.
So do this,
Do
do
this.
this, do this,
It's a
do
big
this.
one.
If you take nothing else from this, like we have some more great tips coming, but if you take nothing else from this, like do this. This really works. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Mistake number 3, believing the lies that the world is telling us about money.
Ooh.
Okay. So, yeah, the world wants us to believe that money is the goal, that that's the thing that's going to make us happy, that that's the thing that's going to fulfill us, that that's what's going to provide us the security, or that's what's going to finally make us feel important, that we have
Yeah.
a big salary or make us feel powerful. Or really, that's the thing that's going to bring us peace, is that we've accumulated enough money. But do you realize everything that I just mentioned there, we are supposed to be getting that from God, not money.
Yep.
Okay. God did
Amen.
not create us to get that from money. He created us to depend on Him for those things. Okay. So money shouldn't be the goal that we are chasing after, but we should be chasing after what God has called us to do, while using money as a tool to fulfill whatever assignments He has for us while we're on the earth. Okay.
Yeah.
And when we have that right heart posture, where we're not chasing money like it's the goal, you know, all these things that the world wants us to believe, that that's the thing, we got to get ours and we got to hustle until we get it, you know, because that's the thing that's going to keep us safe and secure and whatever else. But when we have the right heart posture with money, and we see that and we understand that it's a tool, it changes things. And
Yeah.
then we can actually seek to earn more money for His purposes and for His glory, and not our own.
Yeah.
And so this is a big thing for me, because I spent so many years just believing the lies that they were telling us, and you know, and I think there are so many Christians who are doing this. Who it's like we're chasing money, like that's the thing that's going to solve all of our problems, you know. But Philippians 4:19 says that God is the one who provides all of our need according
That's
to His
right.
riches and glory by Christ Jesus. So that is what we need to be after. That's what we need to be standing on. So with that, let's dive into mistake number 4.
Number 4, here we go.
Not budgeting for
For the fun stuff.
Okay.
Woo.
So we've had close to 2,000 students in our budgeting course at this point. We'll tell you more about that in a minute. But I can tell you that the reason most people hate budgeting, or they feel that it's restrictive, is because that they're doing it wrong. And this is it. Because if your budget is not empowering you to spend more on the things that you love,
Yep.
then we need to fix some things, because some
Yeah.
things, you have some things messed up. Okay. And so now I know some of you are thinking, well, if there was more money, then I could spend more money on the fun stuff, but I don't even have enough money to spend on the important things. So how can I budget for the fun stuff? And like, I get that, you know, like I said earlier, like things were really tight for us at the beginning. Like when we first got married, it was what, $45 a week we were spending
For
on
groceries?
which didn't go very far. So sometimes by Friday I was fasting.
He was fasting.
Because that was it, you know. And I
Yeah.
remember going to the gas tank and putting $3 in there, because that's all we had, you know. Like, so we've been in some tight seasons, and so I understand when you feel like there's not enough to budget for important things, let alone fun things. But here's what I learned: everyone has things that they care more about and less about. Everyone has things that it's like, that is the most important thing to
Yep.
me, and then things that are like, oh yeah, it's kind of important, and then things where it's like, yeah, I guess I need to spend money on that, and then things that it's like, I didn't even know I was spending money on that. Like, I didn't know
Yes.
that I'm wasting money on that, and I'm really angry about it. So what we want to do is solve that problem of eliminating all those things that you don't even know you're spending money on. Because the fact is, with all the subscription services, with all the stuff going on, if you're not paying attention to exactly where your money's going, you are highly likely wasting money on something that you don't even know is there.
Yeah.
Okay?
I mean, we were just talking to somebody the other day, one of our students who was in a class that we're teaching, and they said they were signed up for one subscription service twice.
Had no idea.
Had no
Just paying
clue.
twice for it. And we hear this all.
And he was like, I
all
just
the
saved
time,
50
all the
bucks
time.
just like that.
Okay, so that's the first thing. Like,
Yeah.
let's eliminate that. That'll free up some cash. And then the next level up is, what are the things that's like, I'm spending money on this, but it's like, I don't really care
Yeah.
that much about it, or I care about it, but I don't care about it as much as that thing that's really important to me.
Yeah.
And so the reason we're doing this is to get to the point where it's like we're freeing up money to put more money towards the things that are super important. So let me give you an example of what that would look like for me. So for me, a car payment was one of these things. So I personally would much rather drive a 5 to 7 year old car without a car payment and go on a few, 3 or 4 really nice dinners with Linda
Yep.
each month, like use that money, that car payment money, to do that and go on some nice dates. I much prefer that rather than having a brand new car every 2 years and having a $400 or $500 car payment. That's a trade that I'm willing to make all day, every day. Now, there's some people, some of you might be like, I just want a really nice car. I don't care if we eat microwave dinners every single night, but I want to be driving a Benz, or I want a Range
Or
Rover
Tesla.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And if that's you, that's okay. It's okay that you prefer that. It's okay that that's where you choose to spend your money. But if you're someone like me, like, don't be driving a new car and having a car payment or an expensive car payment if you don't really care that much about it. If it's just a point A to B type thing, like, let's reallocate that thing towards
Yeah.
what's most important to you. Okay?
Yeah, and this works on a smaller scale too. Like sometimes this is saying I don't want to have Netflix, but I want to go get donuts on Saturday morning. Do you know what I
it
mean?
can
Like
be that simple.
it's whatever
you
it
know?
needs to be, right?
Yeah, because like that's one simple thing that like we've enjoyed. Like, all right, let's go get coffee on Saturday, or go to a coffee shop, or get donuts, or whatever the thing might be.
Yeah.
And it's not that expensive to do, but it feels really nice. And it's like, yeah, chopping out Netflix, whatever, or something else relatively small like that can free up that thing that's important to
Yeah.
us. All right, moving on to mistake number 5, and this is. Do I have any Office fans? Let me know
I
in
really
the
hope
chat
so.
if we have any Office fans in here who can actually get a laugh with us with some of these memes that we've created for you. Give us something in the chat. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a yes. Give me something. But so this is Kevin's famous chili. For anybody who remembers that episode.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of us, like, we create some sort of budget plan or something, and then whatever, a month or two later goes by, it's like, yeah, that just blew up.
not
That
gonna
was
work.
terrible. And we've been through this many, many times. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But the mistake is using an ineffective budgeting method or none at all. Okay. So the truth is that having an effective budget, I think for us, was one of the most practical keys that we did to radically change our financial lives. So if I look back and I take an honest kind of view of what changed for us, like, the budget was the thing that was critical to helping us stop spending more than we were earning.
Yep.
Which we all know, like, that's the number one rule of personal finance. Like, you have to spend less than you're earning. It was also the key to us paying off all of our credit card debt. Like, we had a ton of credit card debt when we got married. It's been key to helping us minimize wasteful spending, kind of like we were talking about before. Figuring out where our money was actually going, because so many people don't really know. Like, I don't really know how much I spend each month eating out. Like, I think it's this much. And honestly, most people are really, really wrong. Making savings and giving automatic, like, the budget was key to that. And honestly, having fun giving, like, that was a big part of
huge.
this as well. Like, just how we set up our budget.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the way I used to think pre-budget, I was one of those like, don't put me in a cage. Don't put any restrictions on me. Like, you feel like you're handcuffed to this thing. But what's actually happening is you're doing it all in your head. Like, you're still doing it. It's just all in your head, and it's not
more
clear.
work. It's more mental
It's
work.
so much more
and it's
work.
less
And you're kind
efficient.
of like, I mean, for me, it was like, man, did that check clear? Like, this was back in the check days.
Back in the check days.
But you're constantly thinking like, man, did I pay that bill? Was that thing taken care of? What else do we have coming up this month? And but then you have just one big bucket, and you're not really sure. Well, how much are groceries? And the inflation right now is insane. So your groceries, like our groceries, I think are about double, which is crazy.
It's scary.
It is, yeah. Anyway,
You guys know this. You're buying food.
you guys are buying food, you know everything. But what is happening is you're doing this all in your head, and you're trying to make it work. And so even though you think, oh, well, a budget's going to be restrictive, it's actually so much more freeing, because then you're like, okay, the grocery budget is taken care of, and I know that I'm going to have enough money for groceries from now till the end of the month. And now I can buy that pair of sunglasses that I really wanted to buy
Yep.
because I know
Without
how much
feeling
money.
guilty.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what's so powerful.
And
about it.
without him caring.
Yep.
Like that's what's so good. It's like he doesn't care that I get new sunglasses, but I really care about it. And so now I know I have this idea of what's there, that the important things are already being taken care of. I don't need to know or I don't need to panic because my rent hasn't been paid yet and panic at the end of the month, So yeah, it when it is done right, it will bring relief and freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It will not bring panic or restriction.
Yeah. But that's the key, is doing it right.
Doing it right. Yeah. And you think it's going to be the other way around, but I'm telling you, it is not. It is so freeing.
Yeah.
It's so freeing.
Yeah. And so I love this. I saw this and I think it's so good. You can think of a budget as a lifestyle design blueprint. And so this guy named Jesse said it like this. He said, it's a working plan for taking your life from where you are now to where you really want to be. So if that's zero debt, if it's home ownership, retirement plans, travel, more money for eating out, less frustration, anxiety, like whatever the goal is, whatever those things are, like the budget is the thing that takes you there and gets you there. And when you view it as a lifestyle design blueprint, it's like, whoa, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's attractive. That feels a lot less restrictive than
Yes.
I've heard it in the past.
Right.
But so the problem that we encountered, because again, I've been running a personal finance blog for 14 years now and sharing with a lot of different people about money. And so for a long time, like I was just reviewing a whole bunch of different budgeting methods and budgeting softwares and all this stuff. And I'd write a blog post about it.
All of them.
And so each time I'd say, hey, honey, we're going to try this out. Let's do this for a couple months. And she hated it.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was because really, like so many of these things that we tried, there was a really big problem with them. And the big flaw that almost all of them had was that there wasn't any sense of real accountability. And so we kept on failing. And sure, like the number would turn red when we go over something. And that's what I'm showing in the screenshot or this little screen clip here is this was a snapshot from one of our failed budgets. Where what happened is we'd budget $500 a month for groceries and we go to $650 and the number would turn red and we'd be like, whatever. I don't really care. Like I'm just going to keep going. Like we'll fix it next month. And we would just keep doing that over and over, kicking the can down the road. And then we end up getting to a point, like eventually, where the budget's like so far out of whack. It's like, why are we even doing this? Let's just start over.
Well, yeah. And I mean, it would get to a point where it was so messed up that I could not work on it. And I would just have to hand it over to him and be like, this is too messy for me. I don't know what's going on. You're going to have to just fix it. Which what that does is it just pushes me out of this conversation altogether when really we need to be in unity and working towards this goal together. So, I mean, that was another huge problem with this.
Yeah. And so kind of out of desperation, like we decided we got to figure out a way to do this because I'm like, I'm doing this for a living. I'm a personal finance nerd. I wanted to be an accountant when I grew up, like all this stuff. And I can't get the budget to work and we keep failing. Like something's wrong here.
If we can't get it to work, like no one else can do this either, right?
Anyway, so I realized we got to fix this. We have to solve a problem. And so kind of out of desperation, we kind of came up with our own method and approach. And Linda loved it. And it's like, whoa, this is working well. And then we shared it. My assistant, Lauren, was kind of complaining about her budget thing and it wasn't working. I'm like, well, we're doing this. It's working. You want to try it? And she tried it. She came back and she said, well, that's amazing. I just saved $800 and didn't even feel it. And so...
$800.
Yeah, and so then we thought, all right, let's throw this in a course.
Like,
and so,
I mean, I'm curious. Like, Bob always presents this information to me like this. If someone was going to pay you $800 to do a budget, would you do it?
Yeah.
Right? Like, because that would be like $800 a month, not just $800 total, right?
Yeah. So anyway, so we just rolled it all up in a course because like, let's just see. And anyway, we've now had like over 2,000 students and we're getting results like that over and over again. And it's really, really simple course. And so if you have something, if you're struggling, if you're in a situation where you don't have something that's working for you, it might be something worth checking out. It's just simple online course. You can go through the whole thing in about an hour. Just a little bit of who it might be for to see if you're a good fit. If you have a decent or good income, but you're not sure where it's going. So like at the end of the month, you're like, I don't feel like there's any money left over, but there should be. Like, this is great for that.
This is perfect.
If you tried budgeting or, are currently doing it, but you can't seem to stick with it, this is really, really good for that type of thing. And if you just want like a simple system to kind of manage your money so you can get on with your life without having to be a hyper spreadsheet nerd and spending tons of time on it, like this is going to make your life a lot easier.
For the butterfly chasers like me.
I mean, this is your favorite thing of anything we've ever tried, right?
Absolutely.
We've pretty much done every single
I could do this
tool
by
out there.
myself, and that's saying a lot,
That's
honestly.
what you like about it, yeah.
That's what I like about it, yeah.
But it doesn't really matter, if you join us in the course, like it doesn't matter if you use envelopes, if that's your thing, or if you have an app that's working for you. It doesn't really matter. Like, I just want you to do something that's working for you and that's holding you accountable and getting you results. Like, that's the goal, And what we are going to do now, because I'm pretty excited about this, we are, the XO people have helped us, and we're going to do something here. We're going to offer a giveaway to any of the XO Now subscribers.
Yeah.
And we're also offering a coupon code for anybody who does want to join us in this course. Just use XO15 when checking out. It'll knock off 15% for you. So you can use that QR code, or the URL is just seedtime.com/real. But we are now going to do a giveaway. We're going to give away a copy or access, scholarship, whatever we're calling this, to our Real Money course.
Right?
And two. We're going to give away 2. And the way to get that, all you have to do, the first 2 people to enter a money emoji in the chat box
Has to be an emoji
to win it.
Yep.
And so for any of our XO Now subscribers, go ahead and throw that in the chat box. First 2 are going to win that. If you're on YouTube, you need to become part of the XO Now community.
For sure.
And so do that so that next time you can win this giveaway.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Bob and Linda. That was awesome. So helpful. Such amazing advice and help and stories you shared. Just so helpful. Thank you so much for being a part of this today. Some things that stuck out to me that really hit home were the point you made of, if you aren't budgeting, you're probably spending money on things you don't even know about. I know that's been a part of something I've realized, of like, oh yeah, I forgot about that subscription, or oh yeah, I forgot I signed up for this thing and I don't even remember doing that. And then just budgeting for fun stuff. Like, I think a lot of times we can get caught up in almost feeling bad for spending money on things that are fun. And the important thing is when you're budgeting together and talking about it ahead of time and deciding that you're going to spend money on those things ahead of time and are in unity about it, then, like you said, doing the right thing leads to relief and freedom. And so I think that's so helpful. So thank you so much for all of the awesome advice and help that you gave today. Now, okay, for those of you watching, don't forget that you can get a 15% discount on Bob and Linda's course. So if you weren't the winners, and if you were those top 2 winners, you'll be receiving an email with the info for how to get access to Bob and Linda's course, and that is to our top 2 winners on XO Now. But if you didn't win, you can go over to seedtime.com/real, REAL, and enter the coupon code XO15 to get your discount. All right, now we are going to transition to our Q&A time of the workshop. Now, this Q&A is exclusively for our XO Now subscribers. So if you're watching on XO Now, don't go anywhere. But if you're on YouTube or on Facebook, jump on over to xonow.com. You can start a free trial if you do not have an account already. So you can start the free trial right now and join us there for the Q&A. But before we start the Q&A, check out this promo about our newest program on XO Now, XO Fitness.
All right, welcome XO family.
Hi XO family, this is Paulette Monroe.
My name is Matt.